Since gun reform, I've had the occasion to be sued by the NRA and the gun lobby. They had me in court for 2 years. The good news is we beat them at the circuit court, we beat them at the appellate court, and we want to see them in the Supreme Court. It's time for regular folks to get their voice again in this process. We've had a major failure by Commissioner Adam Putnam, allowing for folks to have gone unvetted through the federal system to get access to concealed weapons, putting people, everyday people, in danger. We believe that there ought to be comprehensive background checks. We believe that there ought to be sufficient waiting periods, that weapons of war should have no place on our city streets, and that domestic violence abusers should not get access to weapons to snuff out the lives of their loved ones. Those are basic, those are common, and they enjoy a lot of support. In fact, majority support by Floridians all over the country, the state.
All right, so this is real quick, but that is your guy Gillum, the mayoral candidate for Florida from Tallahassee. He's currently the mayor of Tallahassee. This dude decided to release his gun control proposals. And, you know, there's conversations going on in the black gun group, BGOE, which I've said I was done with because it is what it is. I recognize that black people take their liberal bullshit wherever they go. But it was interesting to get in today, seeing how many people were saying, going back and forth over their dilemma. They want to support him because of his skin color, despite the fact that an issue that's important to them, and I assume is important to them because they are in a black gun group, Second Amendment and gun control, whatever. But he has released some of the things he wants to include for the state of Florida. The weird thing to me about Gillum and Stacey Abrams, another black female running for governor in a red state in Georgia, is that, like, well, more specifically in Florida. Florida is like, it's a red state. It can, you know, be purple, but it's a red state for the most part. It has a lot of blue districts. But people go there for a reason, right? Like, they get to keep more of their money. Gillum wants to raise taxes. Florida, I mean, it's the South, so they have similar red state gun laws that are lax and everybody carrying and packing and whatnot. They got they got stand your ground and all other stuff, right? So it's like weird. He wants to make things happen that are not Florida. Like, it's just weird. Like, he wants to do things that will completely fundamentally change the state and why people even go there in the first place. But these are some of the things he said he wants to propose. His quote unquote, air quotes, common sense gun law proposals. He wants to ban assault weapons and large capacity magazines. First of all, there's no such thing as assault weapons, and there's no such thing as large capacity magazines. I don't know what that means. The language is not clear. The gun comes with a 30 round. That's the way the gun was intended to operate. Now, is he saying 60 round drums? Is he saying 100 round drums? Like, in New York, we have that same infringement on our ability to carry in the Second Amendment, and they put us down at 7 at first, and that didn't make any sense because they did this dumbass law overnight, and they realized that cops will have to also abide by that rule, and they don't even make pistols to carry 7 rounds. They don't make magazines to carry 7 bullets. They have what they come. The minimum is 10 plus 1 in the chamber. So I'm saying, like, that was the dumb shit around the gun laws that they even had to fix. Now, I'm not even sure. I think that in New York, even though we have 10 rounds to go to the range, to go hunting or whatever, I think for your home defense, you're supposed to technically only have 7. That part of the provision, I don't think changed, but whatever. But that's one thing. They want to ban ARs, there's no such thing as assault rifles, and large capacity magazines, which that is oblivious. Like that doesn't. There's no, like, this is all about language in the law, and it matters, and words matter. So I'm saying, if the gun comes with 30 rounds, is that large to you, or are you saying 100 rounds, 30 and 60 round mags? I don't understand that. Second is bump stocks. That was a given. Nobody cares about bump stocks. There are people who care about the principle of the thing, and they don't want them doing it because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. But that's just a no-brainer. Nobody cares about bump stocks, and there are several other ways to make the gun operate in that manner without using the bump stock. You can do it with a rubber band, for crying out loud. Strengthen and require universal background checks for all gun sales. how can you make a universal background check? I don't know how that works. Like when you go to get your background check, and me coming from New York, I go in there. It takes 5 minutes. They put your name in, fill out the paperwork, and they go to the FBI, and the FBI does what they do, and they clear you right then and there. I did it for a shotgun at Walmart, which took forever. That shit was weird at Walmart. And then I went to like an actual gun range / gun store / FFL, and that shit was quick. But I don't like how does like universal means like the federal government, state, local, everybody gets it. But I'm saying if only Florida implements this system, it's not universal technically, is it? And not to mention, there's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of agencies not talking to each other like they're supposed to. So I don't even know what that means. Like for Florida, that's not including every other state, which would be universal. Another one it says is close the private sale loopholes. I don't know about that. If they have, like, I don't have that in New York. They got rid of all that here. You can't sell a gun without getting a check. Period. That might be something that they don't have in Florida. I don't know yet, but that's one thing. You just have to get FFL. That's all that means. Problem I have with that is guns are heirlooms sometimes for people. And yeah, you don't want them to get in the wrong hands or whatever, but they are heirlooms. Sometimes they're an investment to say like, oh, you know, I got this gun that's old, antique or whatever, and I want to keep it in the family or whatever. If something happens bad, it's just a way to use it to operate with money, and you no longer have that right as an individual to do that. It's just like, it sucks, but whatever. You just gotta do a background check before you show a gun to your friend. You gotta go to the FFL and pay $25. That's all you gotta do. Like that's not. I don't. You know what I mean? Florida, if Floridians don't already have that in place, I'm sure they don't want that. But I'm saying, I don't support it, but it's like, whatever. You know what I mean? Somebody wants to sell me the gun, we got to go to FFL and pay a third party money. And that's kind of what happens with the whole gun control thing. It's more deterrent and get people to not want to go out and buy guns because they don't know the rules. They're scared. A lot of these things, if you don't abide by them after this law is passed, and they'll give you a grace period, but you're basically a felon. Like in New York, if you got a 30-round mag, you're a felon. Where the shit was legal, you know what I mean? Like 5 years ago, they gave us in New York a year, I think. No, 2 years. No, a year. Basically to make if you already had an AR-15 that was pre-ban, you had a year to register it, which nobody wants to do that because legally, you will be like co-signing the bullshit in their laws and whatnot. Like you're conceding to it being an assault weapon, and it's not. But I don't support that. Another thing he says is restriction access for all the mentally ill. Houston, we have a problem. My issue with that, and this actually happened in New York, where a guy took some medicine one time because he was depressed or something, and they had that information. I don't know how. Because that was his private medical records. And I'm saying he already had his pistol permit. Like, it wasn't like he went to go get one and they denied him. He already had it. Somehow his information got in the authorities' hands that he one time took some medication for a few days to get off depression, which he never used it again. And he took his gun. He got his shit back eventually, but the process was like, you got to miss work. You got to go to court, back and forth. It's like unnecessary shit you got to deal with. So I'm saying, like, on a surface, it sounds simplistic because crazy people can have guns, but I think it's deeper than that. And one thing I noticed too, like with all these black people talking about mental, like Charlamagne started this shit, talking about mental illness publicly, and I always was like, okay, yeah, black people do need to deal with that, but I think there should be like one of those in-house conversations, because I'm saying when you go around saying that you're crazy and this and that, like Kanye is, or we're calling him that, but we're making it easy for anybody to set your ass up. They can easily set you up to where they say you killed yourself or whatever, right? Like that mental illness thing is like I can see it just like the legal marijuana thing. I already talked about that. How a lot of black people are going to forfeit their right to bear arms so they can get a marijuana card. And I ain't about that life. And I'm saying the mental illness thing is something else. If you go on medication, if you're conceding to the point and you're saying you're diagnosed with some of this stuff, I just think you gotta watch out with that. And at the end of the day, mentally ill people, that is a broad definition. They don't mean the same for everything. If you're a person that can't function without pills, that's something I question. But at the end of the day, you're still an American citizen, and you are a target because you have a handicap, and we're telling these people that they shouldn't be able to have guns. It is what it is. But I just have questions on how that works and how broad of a spectrum is and who determines what mentally ill is. Because, again, you can have depression, take some stuff, be good again. And is that always only going to be on your record? Again, in New York, that happened, and he got his gun back after a bunch of bullshit. But I don't know. Again, it's simple to say crazy people should have guns. I agree with that. But it's just deeper than that. You know, that was the big thing during the Obamacare years, and where doctors was asking kids, do you have guns in your house? Like, they just over doing too much, getting in your business. Shit ain't got nothing to do with them. Like, that's not cool. And if that mental illness part passed, that's definitely going to be a part of the game. Restricted access for known... for known foreign and domestic terrorists. That's like a no freaking brainer. Like, huh? Okay. Terrorists can't have access to get guns. Like, I don't think nobody opposes that. The problem with that is terrorists should actually already be in jail in the first place, right? They should already be locked up. But what doesn't work about that is that terrorists they become terrorists after they commit the crime. So most of these little tiki torch white dudes who shoot up schools or whatever, like, they would pass all of this stuff. None of this stuff here, they would fail. So in essence, none of this does anything to curtail why he's doing this, right? Because it's the shootings in Florida or whatever. The people who are committing these crimes will pass all these tests. They won't fail any of these loopholes or these restrictions. It will make it difficult for certain people to get guns. People who don't have the resources. People, obviously, black folks are going to have to deal with a lot of that stuff. Let me see. Oh, yeah. But I don't know. The whole terrorist thing is like, I don't have an issue with that one, right? They shouldn't have guns, but it's like after the fact situation. These terrorists commit the crimes and they become terrorists. They're not terrorists first, unless you checking their activity or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? And then in Florida, the guy who did the shooting at the school the last time, there was a lot of information. The FBI, the local police, teachers, everybody did what they were supposed to do, but the government was not. They didn't do their job, right? So it's like weird. If they did their job, that situation would never happen. He would have never been able to buy the gun because there were so many complaints and so much issues already in place. And again, with the stuff that was already in place, he should have never got the gun. But none of this stuff addresses that because he would pass all this shit. Another thing he says is close the boyfriend loophole and prohibit gun possessions for those with felonies and misdemeanors, domestic violence, and stalking convictions. That's a whole lot of Negroes, right? And basically, it's weird how the left wants felons to be able to vote so they can make change in policy or whatever. But the left does not want a person who went to jail who's a felony and changing their life for the better to be able to bear arms. That's interesting. The boyfriend loophole, I get that. That happened in New York. The firefighter who got killed in the fire, the chick bought it. I don't know how you get rid of that loophole. That is, again, like, that's after the fact. If you tell somebody to go buy a gun and they use your name, you're going to go to jail if they use it. Obviously, you're complicit. But I'm saying, if you got a person that's clean, do it for you, they're going to pass all these different rules, all these different laws. Like, say you are a terrorist and you're known. You just have your cousin Habib do it for you. Like, it's just weird. None of this shit changes the gun problem, right? I'm confused. But y'all niggas gonna vote for him anyways. It is what it is. The boyfriend loophole, so I get that. But again, to me, it's just like you can't do anything about that. I think, like, unless you're saying, and it doesn't say it here, but I'm assuming that would say if you're dating somebody that's a felon, then you can't have a gun in the home, period. Which, that brings me back to what I forgot, and I tried to finesse it, was Taylor, the football player, number 24. He had a felony. Part of his probation was he couldn't have guns. Basically, I know what happened to him. His house got broken into. A bunch of undesirable Negroes broke in, and they shot him. And, you know, his baby mom's was upstairs. She was pregnant, I think, at the time. And, yeah, he died. But he lost his ability to defend himself and have guns and to protect himself. So basically, it's like, it's one of those situations where it's like, if you get a felony, you are effed for life. Not just economically getting jobs and stuff, but you can't even defend yourself. Now, realistically, there are a bunch of felons out there who have that statement, I'd rather have one than be caught without one. So that means they know they live in an environment that's dangerous, it's not safe, and they'd rather just carry the gun regardless. They don't give a shit. Like, I know people who said that exact same thing to me. They're not supposed to have guns, but they do anyways because they know they be around dirt. And it's not just them wanting to be around it, but that's just the environment that they live in. And they know that because they have a felony, and people know that they have felonies, they think that they're a target, and they're going to easily just come bully them or whatever. They're like, nope, I'm still packing. Just can't get caught with it. Domestic violence, that can come into play when it's a false allegation thing where, like, you had an altercation, the gray area, not you beating their ass, whatever, that happens, whatever, they taking your guns. I understand that. That's why I've conceded to the point, even though I admit, you know, people shouldn't hit people, but when dudes be like, I'm going to hit her back, it's like, it's really not worth it for us to do that. And this is one of the reasons why it's not, because he say, she say, you lose that case. Now, you can never have a gun ever in your life, and you on record for hitting chicks. That can't help you. So, you know, it's a tough one because, again, on the surface, that sounds like a no-brainer. If you beat women, you shouldn't be able to carry a gun. But we know that there's gray areas. We know that there's men who get lied on. We know that there's a situation where she hit him and he was defending himself. And you got to prove that shit. And sometimes men come up with the L on that. So that's we have that here in New York too. It is what it is. Just you can't hit chicks. You got to call your cousin Rashida that's like 400 pounds to come handle it for you. And stalking convictions, I guess if you stalking bitches, yeah, you shouldn't have guns. Whatever. Ban purchases and possessions of armored piercing bullets. That's them green tips 223s. I don't, again, understand what value that brings to the gun control situation. How many cases have there been where the situation was needed? I just don't understand. Like, how can armor be legal to purchase, but you can't buy armor piercing bullets? Like, I don't know what's going on with that. The police officers have vests. There hasn't been in his state of Florida that I've seen on the news any police officers being shot and killed with armor piercing bullets. I just don't know. That's just something to throw in there, just to throw in there. But that's it. I'm just, aloof right now. But yeah, I'm kind of just disinterested in the topic right now because it's black people debating over on the BGO gun group about, black folks are telling other black folks they can't be one issue voters, or this is more important than that. Or I'm like, yo, chill. If I lived in Florida, I'm not voting for this dude. I don't care about none of the socialist bullshit he's trying to push. I don't think that helps black people either, right? Economic independence is not going to come from socialist policies, and that's what we need. Would I vote for the other dude if I did live there? Probably. Or I was vote third party. I don't know. Or I just wouldn't vote at all. I don't know. In New York, Governor Cuomo wants to add more restrictions, and we already got ridiculous restrictions. And his opponent, a Republican, but it's New York, so he has to walk this tightrope of the pro-gunners. And it's not really that. It's basically all the motherfuckers in the 5 boroughs are fucking up for the rest of New York, right? So because up there they have that anti-gun culture in the city, the big-ass rat trap that just takes all our tax dollars, in Albany, like, that culture affects the rest of us. So it'd be cool if he could finesse something where the rest of New York, like from Albany down, like we don't have to adhere to the stuff that they got deal in the city, right? If y'all want to be in that big rat trap where you can't get out but one way, and y'all getting stopped and frisked, and y'all have no rights because y'all believe in this utopia bull crap, y'all should have that there. But there's a lot of people that hunt. We got all these national parks, and people that live in rural areas that, you know, there's bears and coyotes and stuff. They shouldn't have to deal with all these damn restrictions. That's just my take. If we could finesse it where we could separate the city from the rest of New York, that would be beautiful. But yeah, that's it. Black folks are gonna vote for this man, and it'd be weird if a red state Florida gets an anti-gun black dude and he wins and he pushes this shit through. Whew. I don't know, man. Well, I don't think we prepared for that shit. My people.
And gun laws, and the Second Amendment came out of really white folks' interest in maintaining slavery and keeping black folk under control and keeping them defenseless and powerless. And and let me go back to that point now, because you see, nothing has changed in about the last 150 years. Black folk right now with the Second Amendment is in the same position. We got about 367 million rifles and handguns in America, about 360 million of them. Now, guess whose hands they're in? They're in white hands, not in blacks' hands, because black folk have never been able to have that kind of weaponry available and accessible to them. And so, but every time you go on the Fox channel, they always talk about black folk shooting black. Look at black on black crime in Chicago. Blacks are shooting blacks. Yes, we got some stupid blacks always shooting each other. They ain't got no better sense to go kill their own people with a weapon. But out of 367 million weapons, guess what? White folk own 99 and about 7/10 of all those weapons. They don't belong to black folk in this country. 100% of all the gun manufacturers are whites. 100% of all the weapon ammunition producers are whites. all the gun clubs and gun shops are white owned. All the rifle ranges are white owned. All the military supply stores that supply the guns and all the techniques and the hardware that goes with weapons are whites owned. And yet I can go to major city after major city and find programs and policies saying we want black folks to turn in their guns. And if you were to come turn in your guns, we'll give you a $50 worth of groceries. And guess I go by there in person, boys, I go look, I see blacks lined up outside of a damn grocery store, turning in their pistols or their gun so they can get a damn $5 bag of groceries, a $50 bag of groceries. And white folk on out of 360 million, got all the guns and weapons. I can go in the White House and might find 20 or 30 rifles in the house. And see, black people just don't understand. And I try to teach them this. I said, look, you got to learn how to play this game. And so what I would suggest to do is understand this. First of all, that even though you hear white folks talking on the radio and TV about we got to do something about the gun stocks. That's not the problem, the gun stock. Because the issue is this. When the law was enacted, it says, let's go back and be very academic for a second. It says that all citizens have a right to bear arms. Now, nobody ever defined what bear arms mean. Now, does bear arm means bow and arrows? Because the Indians, they never took the bow and arrows from the Indians. They bore arms all this time. It was the black folk that they said very specifically, you cannot carry any kind of weapon, tool, knife, or anything else, or mirror, signal mirror. And so they stripped blacks down. They didn't strip Indians. Indians still had arms. They had bow and arrows and spears. They stripped black folk. Nobody's ever defined what it means when you say bear arms. Now, does it mean, so therefore, why they're bearing arms? Well, because they want to protect their property. That's because black folk were property. Then what nowadays, if you were to say to black folk, okay, black folk, you're going to protect your property. And now, and since you're outnumbered 10-1 in society, and nobody knows what bear arms mean, why don't you get machine guns? Blacks could get machine guns if they wanted to. Black folk right now could go out and get tanks. They can get bazookas, okay, because they wanted to. Or they can even say, well, since we outnumbered 10-1 and racism is still in existence, because deep in the white folks' psyche is what happens about 460 years ago. They always had this massive obsession and fear of black folk having a riot and coming up against it. Right, every white right, every conservative organization, whether the White Klan or the bald-headed skinheads or the Knights of the Black Horse Brigade or the White Chameleons, They always had a fear that one day there's going to be a major race riot in America. That's the big reason why they fight for guns. That's why they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about gun removal because they know that black folk, they want to keep black folk as disarmed as possible by having them turn in their guns to get groceries while they stock up on guns and weapons. That's why every time there's an issue that rises that looks like it might precipitate something dealing with race, they'll rush out and buy every gun they can get. They're loaded down with them. And because again, black folk had never said, well, I'm on outnumbered 10-1. I want an atomic bomb, because under that law he could say that. A black right now can say, I can go out. If black folk were to get very smart, see, and they can start doing what I learned early in political science. What you do is the best defense is an offense. You say, okay, I'm gonna flip the switch. I'm not gonna be against gun control. I'm not gonna be against removing the Second Amendment. I'm gonna say no, enhance it. So that I go out now and based on what I want to be armed with, because my neighbors might attack me, I'm gonna put landmines in my front yard. So if anybody's kids put on my yard, I can blow the hell out of them. Or I'm gonna go get me an atomic bomb. But no, black folk are too busy playing the political party stuff with the Democratic Party and the liberals saying, we don't want the guns and weapons. You should do just the opposite. No, we want them just like whites. And I want every black household, it being mandated that every black household has at least 10 AKs.